And if you can get out of a pension plan or borrow against it to buy gold and silver, do so. It may be your last chance, and probably is your last chance. And so I think that covers the monetary, the financial scene. Got a few questions here. If the USDX goes from 80 to 40, does that mean the Chinese and Indian currencies will roughly double in value, or is it that their respective governments will keep their currencies down with respect to the U.S. dollar? It's a good question. It's a hard one to answer. We don't know what they're going to do, but I think they will devalue their currencies against a devaluing dollar as much as they can. So maybe the dollar, the yuan, or the rupee may not go up 50%. Maybe they'll only go up 35% or whatever. But that's what they're going to do. They do it all the time. And so we can expect things like that to happen. And let me see who that came from. That came from Rob. Next one is from Ari. According to the media, Larry Kudlow in particular, only $30 billion of the stimulus money has been spent so far. And that's probably generally true. And he also mentions once the rest of the money gets in the market, the effect will be far better in terms of job creation and recovery. I just wanted to have your opinion on whether you know how much of the money has already come into the economy of the market, and if you see it having any effect on the job front. Also, and this will make you laugh, I was watching CNBC yesterday when they had Jimmy Rogers on, and one of the presenters, Sue Herrera, I think, said we should give Bernanke credit when Jimmy asked, what for? And she replied, for thinking outside the box. And, of course, that's unanswerable because he wouldn't know how to think outside the box. He's a Keynesian through and through. And so, I think that the majority of the money, well, let me put it this way, I'll guess, probably 40% of the money is going to be spent next year. If Ari's figure is correct, and I don't think it is because it's only $30 billion. The package is worth what? Just under $1 trillion, about $900 billion. They've had to have spent at least $150 billion. I don't think his figures are right, and that's Larry Kudlow. But anyway, 40%, say $400 billion will be spent next year, and that should be enough to kick GDP up 1%. The money that's been put out so far has been mostly with retirees. I know we get checks for $250 each, and I went out and bought gold coins, so what can I tell you? And that's the truth. It's not going in the economy. Look at the retail figures. They're dreadful. And I just posted them in tomorrow's issue. I forget what they were. I think sales year on year are off 4% or something. And it's going to get worse. People are saving more. They're paying off their credit cards. They're going into foreclosure. They're going into bankruptcy. The world is in a world of hurt. And, I feel for them, but none of them want to pay attention. And if you're not going to pay attention, you're not going to be on top of it. And if you're not going to be on top of it, you're going to lose. And so that's just the way it is. longer. We discussed some of this before on Wednesday. That China may be borrowing against the trillions of dollars of debt, paper dollars, to buy hordes of commodities. This is a fascinating postulate. And I asked Bob to comment on the following as well. And that could very well be. That could very well be. They could be borrowing in other currencies and paying in dollars. I don't know. It's a good possibility. He says, and this is John, he says the Chinese cannot dump the dollar since they would torpedo the value of the U.S. dollar holdings, destroy their best trading partner, and cause many other problems, like a dropping dollar, which means they'd lose even more money. And he's right. And his comment is, hence, the creditor has become like a slave. Now China may have a new strategy where the Western bankers, void of any trace of ethics, could be lending to China against their own best interests. The idea is that China may be borrowing against the collateral base and trillions of U.S. debt paper and buying mountains of hard assets when demand is suppressed. And it could be. In the true spirit of Sun Tzu, the Chinese could be converting mountains of U.S. toilet paper, which is a liability, which is also known as Federal Reserve notes, into colossal stockpiles of iron, copper, oil, and other commodity assets. This is a big wild card, and I asked Bob to develop this postulate further, beginning with these questions. What currency would China be borrowing to buy these commodities? Well, I would think they would go toward a currency that was going to be weak in the future, because then they pay less back. It's hard to, say which one they were using. And I think they're limited to major currencies. If the U.S. and other currencies were to devalue, where would that leave China with regard to the U.S. dollar assets and the debt that they could be assuming to finance the commodity purchases? I think that now let me reread this. Hold on a second. Well, if the U.S. devalues or the dollar devalues, it goes from 80 to 40, they're going to lose money. They're going to lose half their money. It's pretty simple. What the payback would be, I don't know. I don't think any arrangements will be made. I think in this whole mess that the people who are lending the money are really going to get screwed. The borrowers are in the pound seat, so to speak. And all I can see in the future is multilateral devaluation worldwide, all the currencies, and debt default. And the people who have the largest foreign exchange reserves in dollars will be the biggest losers, as will those who have lent dollars. The creditors can always go bankrupt and say, we don't owe you anything. I think that the debt's all going to get wiped out. And, of course, I'm only guessing. But, in ancient times, when a new ruler came in, particularly in the Middle East, he'd say, okay, all the debt that was owed is hereby rescinded, and all the lenders get screwed. That's the way it was. So if you were a lender, you fought awful hard for the incumbent, hoping he stayed in office, or his army beat the other army, or whatever it is. I guess the smart businessmen were bankrolling both sides of the conflict, whatever that was, so that they could make out no matter what happened. So, anyway. Now, what do we got left here? Oh, let me see on this one. I think we pretty well covered it.